Welcome back to Tuesday Night Fights. Please like and subscribe and drop a comment. What a tumultuous 24 hours it has been. It's been an amazing 24 hours in regards to the soap opera that is Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua, and Deontay Wilder. The fight is now officially off. Wilder said he was ready to sign a contract for the Anthony Joshua showdown, a flat fee of $15 million. And they were going to do it in the UK. Shelley Fingal, the manager of Deontay Wilder, said there were small changes that needed to be made, but they were ready to sign. They were going to send the contract back. And this is not unusual. These are lawyers we're talking about, and it's an 8-figure contract. Obviously, there's going to be some small changes. The contract that was sent over to Team Wilder didn't have a date nor a venue in it. So that contract was far from complete, but they were ready to sign for the $15 million, the flat fee. The rest of this seems to have gone up in smoke. If you've ever purchased a home or have ever signed a contract, there are always small details that need to be ironed out. That doesn't mean the contract is void. It just means we need to change these minute details. And that looked like what Team Wilder was ready to do. And looked like the fight was going to be made. It was going to be made on AJ's terms. He is the A side, so if Wilder wants the fight, he does have to concede quite a bit. And it looked like he was willing to do that. It didn't look like Eddie Hearn wanted the fight to be made, but it looked like it was going to get made. We've gone from that now to this. The WBA has given AJ 24 hours to sign a contract to fight mandatory challenger Povetkin. He's the number one challenger. He's been that since he knocked out David Price. Now, the WBA never strips anybody. Now they're giving 24 hours to sign a contract or be stripped? That doesn't really seem right. The WBA, same organization where Keith Thurman holds the welterweight strap. He's held that strap for years now. He hasn't made a mandatory defense since Sean Porter. That's 2 years ago. Just over 2 years ago. He also hasn't made any defense in almost a year and a half since he fought Danny Garcia in March of 2018. He hasn't been giving a deadline to fight mandatory challenger Manny Pacquiao. No mandate at all. Pacquiao's fight with Lucas Matisse seems to be in a bit of trouble, and there's no WBA saying, oh, you need to fight Pacquiao if that fight doesn't come off, or you need to fight Pacquiao anyway or be stripped. Gassiev is in the cruiserweight champion for the WBA. He's allowed to take a unification bout with Usyk. They're not standing in the way of that. They had trouble negotiating that fight. That fight looked like it was off, and it looked like Gassiev was going to go on to face another opponent. Not a mandatory opponent either, by the way. Just another voluntary defense, but finally him and Usyk got together, and there's going to be an undisputed unification bout in the cruiserweight division. And WBA went along with that. Jarrett Swift Hurd basically told them, no, I'm not going to fight my mandatory, nor am I going to fight Arislandi Lara, who you've mandated me to fight. No problem there. But all of a sudden, now we have an issue with Anthony Joshua, and he's been given 24 hours to sign a contract with Povetkin. Right after Wilder and Shelley Finkel said, yeah, we're going to agree to the terms with Anthony Joshua. Something is seriously wrong with that. The WBA, there's nothing not corrupt about the World Boxing Association. All the regular champions, the super champions, the world champions, no one can keep any of this in line. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for who gets a belt or who gets a challenge. If I asked you to name who the heavyweight champion of the world is, or according to the WBA, you would say Anthony Joshua, then what does Manuel Char have? Is Ryan Burnett a world champion? What is Lucas Matisse? There's no answer. There's no rhyme or reason. Everything about the WBA is bogus. And this does nothing to help. I mean, this just looks awful for the WBA and for Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. Apparently, the fight with Povetkin is set for September 22nd. If that's true, why couldn't they pick that same date for the for a possible Deontay Wilder fight? Why was that not on the table? Why was if we can set a Povetkin fight for September 22nd, why can't we do the same? Why couldn't the same thing have been done for Deontay Wilder? Eddie Hearn never wanted the Deontay Wilder fight, and maybe for good reason. Maybe he's doing his job as promoter. Eddie Hearn is an excellent promoter. You can think of him what you will as a human being, but as a promoter, he makes his fighters a lot of money, and he makes a lot of smart fights for his fighter. And he seems to be doing that with Joshua. He said originally that he wanted this one more fight before they got to Wilder. And it looked like that wasn't going to happen. It looked like there was too much pressure from new media, there was too much pressure from the fight fans, and too much pressure from Wilder, and that fight had to be made. And when Shelley Finkel and team came back with a $50 million offer to Joshua, which Joshua said, if you offered me $50 million, I'll take it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow came and went, and they offered him $50 million. He never signed it. Eddie Hearn obviously never wanted that fight to happen. Now he's going to go ahead and fight Povetkin. He'll probably make $20 to $25 million, which is heck of a lot of money, but it's barely half, if half at all, of what he was going to make with Deontay Wilder. Now you got to ask yourself, is that what a good promoter does? Take away a fighter's biggest payday? Look, best case scenario is he beats Wilder, he goes on, he fights Povetkin, then he can fight Tyson Fury, and the sky's the limit for him, right? Worst case scenario is he loses to Deontay Wilder, and he gets an automatic rematch, which is another massive payday. So there wasn't any shortage of opportunity. It's not like if he lost to Wilder that his career was over. He would get $50 million, which is going to take him 2 to 3 fights to make anyway at his current rate. And if he lost, he would probably get another massive payday and an even bigger fight in the rematch with Wilder. So there's really no downside. Does that make sense? I mean, if he loses to Wilder, he gets another Wilder fight. If he beats Wilder, then just go fight Povetkin. And if he beat Povetkin, then go fight Tyson Fury. And it's never ending. So win or lose with Wilder, there's no downside to taking that fight from a monetary standpoint. Now, you don't want to have your undefeated 28-year-old unified heavyweight champion taking a loss. And if he's not ready, that's one thing to consider. But from a dollar and cent standpoint, no, it doesn't make any sense to pass up on the biggest fight, especially when you're the A side. And if you lose, you can get a rematch, which will be even a bigger fight, and you may not get more than $50 million, but you'd get more than the 20 you're going to get to fight Povetkin, right? So let's say he got 30 for a rematch, right? Let's say it was Wilder got 35 or 40 for the rematch, and AJ got 30 if he lost. Well, what's 50 plus 30? That's 80. You know, what if he's not getting that. He's going to get 20 to 25 with Povetkin. A dangerous fight, too. And we're not hating on AJ. We've leaned at 3D Boxing unofficially. This is an unofficial prediction. If AJ and Wilder fought now, or in the foreseeable future, we're leaning ever so slightly towards Anthony Joshua over Deontay Wilder. So this is not us hating. We're not Wilder fanboys. We're not AJ haters. We like both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. It's the best fight in the heavyweight division. And if it were to come off now, we would lean towards Anthony Joshua to win that undisputed unification fight. But to be fair, AJ had not looked great in his last 2 fights against Takam and against Joseph Parker. The Parker fight was pretty awful. He did not impress at all. He won a wide decision, a fight that we never thought should have been that wide. It was 119, 109, and 118, 110 twice, we believe. I think that's what it was. You could have made an argument that Parker won more rounds. I mean, they weren't going to score it that way because Parker did nothing to win the fight, so they weren't going to give him in the UK. They weren't going to give him all the close rounds, which you would have had to have done. But to be fair, Joshua won the fight, but he did not look good doing so. He did not dominate Parker. He never really hurt Parker. Parker accounted for himself okay. I mean, he made the fight competitive. We thought it was as boring as it was. It wasn't one-sided. AJ didn't do much in that fight either. And the comp fight, he got the knockout, a very controversial stoppage, which no one thought should have been stopped. but he didn't really look great in that fight either. And before that, he almost got knocked out by a 40-plus-year-old Klitschko. He's not as great he's not an unbeatable fighter. He's a very good heavyweight. He's not unbeatable. And if you're looking past Povetkin, that could be dangerous. Povetkin is a threat to AJ the same way King Kong Ortiz was a threat to Wilder. Povetkin lost once to Vlad, but he has wins over Price that he just won, Christian Hammer, Duhaupas. He's got wins over Mike Perez. He's got wins over Marco Huck. He's got Manuel Char. He's got a lot of quality wins. He's beaten everyone at that B level. He's a big puncher. He's a really skilled fighter. Now, we would pick Joshua to beat Povetkin, but there's no reason to sleep on Povetkin. Povetkin could, we're not saying that he would, nor are we picking him, which we aren't. Povetkin could upset the apple cart. And if Povetkin upsets you, you got upset for $25 million or $20 million, as opposed to being upset by Wilder for $50 million. Povetkin's a dangerous fight. If we're just looking past Povetkin because he's 38, he'll be 39 when they step in the ring in September. We're forgetting that Klitschko almost knocked him out. Klitschko was 40 or 41. Let's not look past Povetkin like he's fighting Carlos Ocampo. He's fighting a real threat who could beat him. Consider that. As we were given everything that went on in the last 24 hours, Wilder is not to blame here. We can't blame Wilder. Wilder was going to give in to, he negotiated, but ultimately he was ready to give in to every demand that Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua made. He was going to take a flat fee of $15 million up front, and they gave Anthony Joshua the flat fee of $50 million. Eddie Hearn said that they wanted to fight in the UK. He wanted to fight in Vegas. He said, "Okay, I'll fight him in the UK." You can't be mad at Wilder here. Now I know Wilder's probably going to go on and fight Brazil, which does nothing for anybody. No one's really interested in that fight. But it's what he has. He's probably only going to make $1.5 million to $2.5 million for that fight, which is drastically less than he would have made for the AJ fight. But it's not his fault, I guess. But losing all that money is his problem. Now Eddie Hearn said that they would make the fight in April of 2019. If Wilder gets past Brazil, which we certainly think he will, maybe we'll get it in April of 2019. It's just depressing, though, that we didn't get Keith Thurman versus any of the top welterweights in 2018, nor did we get the heavyweight unification fight that we wanted in 2018. It was a year that was set up perfectly. By the way, 2017 ended. Looked like we were going to get a bunch of good fights. It looked like, at least Danny or Porter versus Keith was going to happen, and it also looked like we were going to get a heavyweight unification fight between Wilder and AJ, which would potentially be a $100 million fight. That's not going to happen either now. Although Povetkin's is a good fight, it is what it is. It's just frustrating to see when a fighter gives in to every single demand made and concedes to everything, for him to not get that fight when that fight is such a lucrative fight. And we said before, look, when Holyfield wanted to fight Mike Tyson, he took a flat fee of $5 million to do that, in one of the biggest heavyweight fights in history at that point. He could have probably gotten more than that, but he said, you know what, I just want this fight, and then I'll clean up on the rematch. Floyd Mayweather gave in to every single demand that was given to him by Oscar De La Hoya. And he said, if I beat Oscar, I'll be the pay-per-view king. So, yeah, Oscar can dictate to me, and I'll take it. And once I beat him, I'll dictate my terms to everyone else. That was what was on the table for Wilder. If he could get the fight with AJ and beat him, now it looks like he's not even going to get the opportunity. The motives of Wilder has been questioned by Eddie Hearn. I mean, that's a desperate plea. I mean, I think everyone here knows that Wilder wants that fight. He was willing to make every single concession. The real problem here, though, we see is with the World Boxing Association, the WBA. It's a real bad look that they came out of nowhere with a 24-hour mandate for Joshua to sign to fight Povetkin. Where did that come from? And that's what I want to spend a few minutes on. the WBA doesn't strip anyone. They don't make anyone really take mandatories. Like we talked about Gassiev, Hearn. They told Hearn to go fight Lord. He said no, and it looks like it's no. Gassiev gets to unify. Even when he couldn't, it looked like they were having difficulty making that fight. He wasn't given a mandatory. Keith Thurman doesn't fight anybody. Keith Thurman fights nobody, and he doesn't get stripped. So it just seems really, really odd that Eddie Hearn, who just got $1 billion from DAZN, who never wanted to make the Joshua Wilder fight in the first place, all of a sudden gets this mandate out of nowhere when Wilder says he's going to sign the contract and send it back. This would not be unique. We know that Bob Arum has WBO in his pocket. We know that Robert Lee, former president of the IBF, went to jail for taking money from Top Rank and others. So this would not be brand new. And we know Don King had been in trouble for similar things. So this would not be new. It seems weird that the WBA mandated this fight, an Eddie Hearn fighter, and Eddie Hearn just walked into $1 billion. Looks like, and what we're submitting, Eddie Hearn paid him off to make him take this fight. He didn't want any part of the Wilder fight. That was obvious. He's made every excuse not to take the fight. He's been caught in a bunch of ridiculous lies, saying that Wilder never responded to their offer. Yes, he did. They responded with a counter offer, and they met your client's claim. They met your client's quote of $50 million. So how you can say they didn't respond to it is beyond me. When they got your offer, they gave you a counter offer. That is, by definition, a response. And they responded to your client's quote, which you told him you couldn't get him. You told him it was a $40 million fight. Team Wilder and Charlie Pickle came back and said, here's $50 million guaranteed. And now you got to take the fight because he said for $50 million he would take the fight. Now you have to find some other reason not to take the fight. Well, here's that other reason. Out of the clear blue sky, you have to fight Povetkin. Unifications always take precedence. This is why Gassiev gets to fight Usyk, right? I mean, this is not new. To say that this doesn't smell bad, that this seems normal to you, is this needs to be investigated. That's what we're saying. This smells bad. It's got Eddie Hearn's disgusting fingerprints all over it, and there's a precedence to believe that something like this could happen. This needs to be investigated from the top down, just like Top Rank was in the 90s, and their president went to jail. I'm not saying Eddie Hearn did anything that should put him in jail. I'm also not saying that. Right? I'm also not saying he didn't. He very well could have paid someone off. He could have bribed someone, which would be a crime. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Let me know if you think this makes sense to you. Mandating Povetkin out of the clear blue sky makes perfect sense. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and God bless from 3D Boxing. Signing off for Tuesday Night Fights.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingvlog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.